Are you interested in getting started in multifamily investing, but you're just not sure if it's a good idea heading into 2022?
Today we're going to talk about what we expect to see in 2022, what our predictions are, and how you can get into the game by decreasing risk and maximizing opportunity.
Yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and get your alerts every time we download a new video. We're doing that every week because we're sharing content with you and it's coming at you live. So make sure you subscribe, ring the bell.
All right, so let's get into the 5 things that we're going to be talking about during this video. So it is prices, what do we expect to see? What's going to happen with the fix and flip market? What about stabilized projects and value add projects? And then finally, we're going to be talking about interest rates and what we expect to see coming into 2022.
By the way, do you love our new vibe board? We got this electronic whiteboard so that we can be interactive with you and share some data, content, and this board is epic. Got it from Vibe. I'm super stoked. So we're going to talk about price. And right now what we've got is a supply and demand challenge that's going on for family homeowners, right? So any homeowner that's out there right now that wants, they want to get into a house because, well, first of all, the interest rates are so low right now. So because the interest rates are low, people are like, I can finally afford to buy a house. So they're going out there, and you might have all these people. So you have, let's just say these 3 people, they're gonna have a hard time walking, right? I don't know if you can even see them.
His legs nothing but it.
Hey, I'm in a hurry
He's
here.
gonna limp hardcore.
These guys want some houses, but the thing is, there's literally only 2 houses and 5 people, and they all want one. So this guy's like, hey, I'll give you $100K for it. And he's like, no, I'll give you 105. This one's like, no, 110. This guy's like, no, I really need it. And this guy's like, screw all of you, 150, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? So now what's effectively happened is this guy has paid $150,000 for a house that's more than likely just worth 100. But because of supply and demand, that literally is driving the behavior. Now, the interest rates are so low, that's why people are doing that. The thing is, interest rates can go back up. Right? This is the lowest. What is it?
I mean,
lowest
it's
ever.
it's so low. We've been in this for like 20 years and we're like, what is happening? These interest rates are crazy low.
Right. So when they're that low, you've got, so let's just say it's a low interest rate right now, and the people who want to get into a house, he's like, dude, I can only afford $1,000 payment. Well, for $1,000 payment, he can get in at this interest rate. But later, if the interest rate, and when the interest rate goes up, he's literally gonna say, I can only afford 1,000. So, oh God, never mind my 0 there. So if he can only afford 1,000, but right now, if he can afford 1,000, he might be able to get into a house that's 105K. And over here, once the interest rate goes up, his price point's gonna have to go down. With his price point going down, it's like, okay, now I can finally afford it because the interest rate went up, price points are gonna have to go down in order for people to afford it. So when you factor in the whole pandemic with COVID, now you've got some people, so for those same 5 people, they were able, like, can I keep up with my mortgage payment? Can I get right with the bank? Well, some people couldn't, so they stopped paying. And now that things are sort of wrapping up, if they can't make good with the bank and get their payments back on track, we're gonna see a foreclosure wave. That's what we predict. They're gonna try really hard to get their bank to say, yeah, let's go ahead and make an arrangement. That might not happen, right? And if it doesn't happen, then what we have is we have all those folks that don't have a house to live in, but we all gotta live somewhere. So now we've got these folks right here who are able to make it right with the bank and get back out there. But we've got these guys who are like, crap, I need somewhere to live. That's an opportunity for renting. They're gonna have to go rent.
The reality is, like, nobody knows exactly when is it going to happen. In fact, we don't know how many people are going to end up going into foreclosure. We don't expect that it's going to be anything like 2008, 2009. You know, having all of these new houses potentially showing up on the market, when interest rates going up, like all of those things are likely going to create a downward pressure on the prices. We don't know when that's going to happen. It's funny because Jen and I, even before COVID, Jen and I saw the writing on the wall. A couple of years ago, we have actually been expecting prices to go down for like 2 years. So much so that in our own personal business, we wrapped up the fix and flips we were working on and then we'd already been investing in multifamily real estate for years, but we stopped doing fix and flips along with that. And we focused all of our attention on multifamily real estate.
Well, a fix and flipper might get super excited about the opportunity where there's all these single family homes that were foreclosed on and they're gonna scoop them up at great prices, but you gotta be careful. And here's why. This is what I wanna really point out here is that you are in a fix and flip situation, you are vulnerable to whatever the market is doing. So when interest rates go up, when literally if they have the new home buyer incentives, right? All of those things and price, everything is going to dictate what you're going to be able to resell it for. Okay, so the biggest question is, what can I do to continue to flip but mitigate my risk strategies when I'm doing that? And here's the answer. I'm not saying don't fix and flip. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is just be conservative, right? And the most important part that I want to tell you is when you go in, you need to evaluate all of your contingencies. So if you can't fix and flip it, you need to stress test that deal and see, well, what would happen if I held it? So if I get in there and yep, it's not selling, can I still hold it? And you analyze all of that before you even get under contract and go through and close on that deal. So that's ultimately the strategy that we use. When we look at a flip, it's like, okay, we want to know all of our outs. If we can't actually flip it and it's starting to last too long, how can we hold it and does it still work long enough to at least break even until the market makes a change and then gradually over time get back into things, right? So that's the number one thing. You want to look at what are all the ways that I can get out of this if I have to.
All right, so next we're going to be talking about stabilized or performing properties. So let me start by just defining what are we even talking about. So if you are in the world of 2 to 4 units, we would call that small multifamily, then we're talking about performing properties. What is a performing property? A performing property is one that you're buying and it already has tenants in there, meaning there's already cash flow coming in. We're buying something that is already performing. In 5+ units, which we would call that apartment investing, we call that a stabilized purchase. And it's the same thing. You're going in and you're buying something that already has tenants in there. All right, so stabilized or performing multifamily, in my opinion, is going to be one of the safest strategies that you can use going into 2022. Now, does that mean that it's what Jen and I are focusing on? Actually, no, we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on value add. However, I want everyone to understand what your options are so that you can match your strategy with your personality, your risk tolerance, etc. If you're super conservative and really nervous, I'd stick to performing and stabilized. And here's why. Jen was talking about supply and demand affecting home prices, right? As soon as interest rates go up, houses prices go down. But when you're buying something that's stabilized, this is your focus. Your focus is cash flow. So even if we are holding stabilized or performing properties and the market has a correction, let's say that our value goes down by 10%, who cares? What difference does it make? Because right now, our whole goal and strategy is cash flow. So we are not so susceptible to what the market is doing. All right, another reason that we feel like stabilized and performing is going to be one of the safest ways to go in 2022 is because of the rental shortage. Now, in a lot of markets, there are simply not enough nice rental units on the market. And I'm not talking about fancy, I just mean like basic, decent housing for people. There's not enough.
But I have a question. Okay, so do you think that people should actually stop fix and flip and only focus on stabilized then, based on that being the safest?
No, that's not what I don't mean. Will never say anything that's just completely carte blanche. So understand, I'm not suggesting you stop fixing and flipping, but if you're going to fix and flip, then like Jen talked about, at least make sure you have a balanced strategy so that you're evaluating to make sure that if you happen to get caught in a correction, ask me how I know, that you at least know that the numbers still work for a secondary strategy. And as far as like stabilized, I'm not saying that everybody should do stabilized, but if you are the type that you're like, I'm really nervous and I want the safest possible strategy, in my opinion, that is the safest strategy. That's it. It's never don't do it or only do this, but just understand your different options so that you can make an informed decision.
Totally. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and let's talk about some of the things that we can do to reduce risk, right? And in the meantime, while you're watching, go ahead and drop a comment below. What are you focused on and what do you think your strategy is gonna be throughout 2022, okay? Drop a comment for us. Okay, a value add. So in our multifamily investing, you have 2 to 4 units, and that would really be called the burst strategy, right? You're gonna buy, renovate, rent it out, and then refi, and then you're gonna repeat. But in apartments from 5 units and up, it's actually called value add. So what you're doing on the burst side of things is you're looking for a fixer-upper. The reason why that's our favorite strategy is you can find apartments that are underperforming, and you can literally go in and make them nicer. Old, outdated units, and then you really increase the value because people want a nicer place to live. So if you find a C-class property and improve it to a B-class, that's a good strategy, right? So that's one of the reasons why this particular strategy of value add, it's gonna get you into the game where you can gain equity and cash flow over time. Now, the thing is, like, how do you find these outdated buildings? Well, there's a lot of people out there that self-manage, and self-managing leads to burnout. And then they want to update things, but they just don't have the capital, and that's an opportunity for you. So from a value add perspective, it literally is going in, finding an underperforming building. Now, there's a lot of reasons why the underperforming buildings happen, right? You got people out there that self-manage and landlords, right? Like,
if you want to get yourself into the game and then right back out of the game, go ahead and self-manage an apartment building, because you will literally want to stab yourself in the face with a fork over and over and over. But I mean, that's really good opportunity for us,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
So here's the deal. You have one of the great opportunities for you. If you are interested in doing the value add, like we love the equity and the cash flow. That's why we choose to do it. But there's a lot of people who, they get into it, they think, yeah, I'm going to do this. I don't want to pay third-party management, so I'm going to do it all myself so I can save that 10%. It's ridiculous, because you will burn out to death. But here's the opportunity. So all those other landlords in the past who have now been burned out to death are just like, ugh. Here's what we see in real estate all the time. Their properties are way under market as far as rents. Why? Well, frankly, because they're not paying attention to what's happening in the market. So they don't realize that the market rents are now $100, $200, $500 a month, in some cases, higher than what they're currently charging. And I think one of the reasons for that is they become like friendly.
They do. They
Just
actually
friends.
interact with the tenants.
Yeah.
Start to trip over feelings and emotions, right? And then you don't want to be the bad guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is, I'm not saying that you're wrong for having, feelings about your tenants, but it is a lot easier to be a business person and to be a CEO and make CEO decisions if you are not interacting face to face. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
So,
when you're in the trenches like that, you'll find yourself in a situation where you question things.
right. So anyway, what we see is a lot of opportunity with burned out landlords who did not keep their rents up to date. The other challenge is a lot of times when someone just goes and buys a building, they don't get educated, they don't realize that there's different financing structures, and so they've literally spent their last dime to just buy the building, and now they don't have capital to actually fix it up and to improve it. So you coming in and having a property that it has deferred maintenance and it has cosmetics that it needs, all of those things will help to bring up the overall appearance. People want to live there, and because people want to live there, they're willing to pay more, and then you upgrade the units on top of it. Now you're talking every dollar that you spend on that property has a multiplier effect on the value of the property. And that is why we love value add. And going after properties that it's burned out landlords, there's so much opportunity with that alone.
It's a win-win, because you're relieving them of the burden, and then you have the opportunity. Plus, now their tenants have what they want and what they need, right? Okay, so when it comes to interest rates, we all know they're really low, the lowest they've ever been. They're gonna go up. So when they go up, you wanna make sure you do a couple of things to protect yourself. The first is look for a fixed rate loan, or you can get a variable loan that has a rate lock, right? So the rate lock is where when you have a variable loan, you lock in maybe five years. I think we refinanced our portfolio and we got a 5-year rate lock, right? So that means that we're locked into that lower interest rate despite the interest rates going up for everybody else. So that's the best way to get into that. Now, we also want to talk about cap rates, right? Like, how is the interest rate going to affect cap rates?
Yeah, cap rates apply to apartments. So if you're in the small multifamily, then don't worry about this. If you're in apartments, then you need to pay close attention to this. Cap rates are historically low. And in our business of apartments, when cap rates are low, when you're doing a value add strategy, we love that, because that means we're going to get to sell at the maximum value, right? And then as cap rates go up, that means the value of the property basically has gone down. So when you're looking at how a property is valued, it's based on the net operating income and the market cap rate. One of the things that we foresee happening, and I'm going to explain what you can do to help mitigate the risk, is when it comes to market cap rates, I believe that when the interest rates start going up, we're going to start seeing that the market cap rates start softening, which means they would go up, which means properties are valued at less.
Okay, so how do you hedge against increasing market cap rates then?
All right, so if you're focusing on a value add project, then this definitely needs to be a concern for you. When you're underwriting your deal or doing your financial projections, when you're looking at your timeline for selling the property, whether that be at year 3, 4, or 5, you don't want to use today's cap rate. Because if you're using today's cap rate and then interest rates go up and market cap rates end up going up, so basically it softens the market, you're going to end up making less than you thought. So the thing you can do to mitigate risk is when you're underwriting, use a higher cap rate. So if you're doing, 10 basis points for every year you're going to hold the property. So if you're going to hold the property for, let's say, 5 years, you're gonna use 50 basis points, which is 0.5%. So if today's cap rate is 5.5% and you're projecting out a 5-year project timeline, then run your numbers based on your market cap rate when you're gonna go to sell being 0.5% higher at 6%. And if it ends up still being 5.5%, awesome, then you just made more money. But in case the market does soften because interest rates do go up, and I really believe that's what we're gonna see, then you've already accounted for it. And it allows you to stress test the financial analysis of the property so that you don't get stuck with a property that is upside down in value because you were too aggressive. So the overall advice here is be conservative about the future, because things have been really good for a really long time, and it's going to soften most likely, and that's fine. We just adjust.
Yeah, and with that, I also want to just put out there, you want to make sure you're communicating those ranges, right, with your partners, because you want to make sure that you're communicating the risks, how you're going to mitigate them, and also the rewards of it, just in case if it doesn't, then this is what happens. But we're planning and we're putting contingencies in. So
in closing, with all of our predictions about 2022, our advice to you is be conservative and really be clear on what your goals are and what your risk tolerance is, and choose a strategy that matches both of those so that you can have the best possible experience in your real estate investing journey.
And if you've been struggling and don't know what's the first, second, or third step to get started in multifamily investing, then go ahead and, we can hold your hand through this process. Just click the link below and you can book a call with a member of our team, and they'll talk to you about what are your goals, what are your resources, and then how can we best help you.
There's a lot of resources in the description, so get in there, check it out. The other thing is we have a Facebook group. It's called Multifamily Real Estate Investing Facebook group, and Jen and I do a ton of content, and we really just do a lot of teaching and nurturing in that group, so we'd love to see you there as well.
Yeah, and one of the coolest parts about that is if you join the Facebook group, every Wednesday we do a live Q&A on Zoom so that we can interact with you face-to-face. So every Wednesday you can come and you can register and then ask us your questions, and we'll give you some clarity.
In the meantime, check out the other video we have for you on how to do market research. And of course, comment below and let us know what are the topics do you want to learn about so we can make them for you.
See you guys next week.
Bye.